Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
If you are interested in serving on your local Federal Subsistence Regional Advisory Council, the deadline to apply is Friday, March 21st. The councils provide information and recommendations to the Federal Subsistence Board on subsistence hunting, trapping, and fishing. For more information on the advisory councils and how to apply, call 1-800-478-1456 or email subsistence@fws.gov. This message sponsored by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.
You can tell a lot about a company by where it invests. At ConocoPhillips, we're investing in Arctic science and engineering at the University of Alaska Anchorage. And we're supporting today's students and tomorrow's engineers at UAF. In fact, today, more than 100 of our employees are University of Alaska graduates, and our future is in their hands. We happen to think that's a pretty good investment. ConocoPhillips, Alaska's oil and gas company.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. There is a wind advisory, or actually a wind chill advisory for Kivalina and the northwest coast there, and possibly down to the north coast of the Seward Peninsula, but mostly for the Kivalina area where the winds have been gusting as high as 50 miles an hour today. That's expected to continue through tonight. And with the below zero temperatures and the cold air riding in on those winds, wind chills will be in the 40 to 50 degree below zero range. And actually, that'll probably also extend down through the Bering Strait to the windier areas of St. Lawrence Island, where they were below zero earlier today, and winds were gusting to about 40 miles an hour at Gamble this afternoon, but a lot less over at Savunga. On the satellite, starting out west here, really a trough, was a weak front, but most of the moisture and energy back up in this area, and just some clouds into the Adak area as a whole here. The entire Aleutian stretch, actually from the Alaska Peninsula all the way out, wind and precipitation free today, but a lot of clouds around there on Alaska. And you see mostly cloudy skies all the way out to Shemya, and then it breaks out very nicely here. Lots of sunshine over Bristol Bay, again some sunshine over Kodiak Island. A low cloud deck there from Prince William Sound, just kind of hugging the coastline. So the inland areas, especially on Shelikof Strait, seeing a fair amount of sun today in those areas, and actually clear skies up into the interior. And then you get into this cloudiness associated with an Arctic front, and ahead, the leading edge of an upper level trough dropping southward, or swinging eastward a little bit, and then it'll come southward. But Arctic front right through here, just some light flurries in areas with that. Most of the light snow occurring from the Brooks Range northward to the eastern Arctic coast, but skies clearing out quite rapidly this afternoon here as those strong north winds push the clouds off to the south. So this lighter area here, actually the cooling of the surface temperatures, and that occurring back through here. Skies clearing out quite nicely. Good VFR where the skies do clear out. A lot of VFR here over the interior, southern interior areas, except for possibly in over Prince William Sound there into the lower cloud deck. Could be some marginal VFR. And also some clouds beginning to develop there along the southeast coast. And there was a little circulation. You really can't see it here. Maybe right there, just south of Cape Yakataga, you see a little circulation in the form of a low. Another one here just east of Fognak Island. But a main area of low pressure will begin to develop and actually enhance as that upper trough comes down from the north and should result in some snow. In fact, it doesn't show up on this imagery, but there is quite an extensive area, low clouds and fog in Cook Inlet that's sliding northward this afternoon. And that'll probably continue tonight. Again, a weak low here right over the southern Cook Inlet area, and then the other one over here near Cape Yakataga. Otherwise, winds continuing to drop off over the Panhandle, especially over the southern areas, quite light. Overnight last night and this morning allowed the temperature to drop to 14 degrees at Klawock. And still, though, the winds 40 to 50 knots through Lynn Canal, and about maybe 25 to 35 knots in gusts over the central inside waters. But definitely seeing a downward trend in those winds now, with the higher pressure beginning to weaken and pull back to the east a little bit, but that northeast direction probably won't change much over the next couple of days, but the velocities definitely will drop off. And today, again, we had some light snow or flurries, mostly areas of here from the Koyukuk Valley back to the southwest a little bit. Again, a little more widespread, but nothing heavy up there over the eastern north slope. Again, clearing out back here with a big high there toward Wrangell Island, and just sunshine here over the southern interior today, except for that low cloud deck that's hanging on to Cook Inlet and, of course, in Prince William Sound. For tonight, clouds should gradually begin to increase here, possibly becoming overcast for just about all of Cook Inlet, Anchorage, maybe on up into the southern Susitna Valley areas, staying about the same there for Prince William Sound. Should start to pick up some moisture here along the North Gulf Coast there as this flow starts to pick up a little bit from south to north and overruns the cooler air. So look for some occasional light snow possibly to develop or flurries throughout the night tonight and in toward tomorrow morning. The main area of snow will be back up here to the north, again along the Brooks Range, northward up toward the eastern Arctic coastal areas, and then sliding back down into about where that was today here over the Selawik Valley, back in across Ambler and those areas, but possibly staying west of Bettles, but you may see a few flurries there as well, but nothing heavy, just fair over the interior here, but an increase in the clouds a little bit over the eastern or the western Tanana Valley areas. Gusty winds, again, the wind chill advisory for those winds gusting 45 to 50 miles an hour tonight there, especially around the Kivalina, this stretch of the coastline here. And those gusty winds, but dry conditions with good VFR, clear skies. May pick up some clouds, probably will pick up some clouds here, especially once it blows off the ice edge there. And from and offshore here, Nunivak Island, look for some snow, light snow to develop over Kodiak Island. In fact, that could start here in the next couple of hours. Occasional flurries developing into a steady light snow later tonight along this Arctic front. Back out to the west, just some hit and miss moisture there over the eastern Aleutians. Winds remaining light with clouds mostly on the Pacific side of the peninsula. Clear skies, light winds continue for Bristol Bay, and windy still over the northern Panhandle, staying light to the south. Just a risk of one of these snow showers clipping the extreme southern areas there of the Panhandle from Dixon Entrance. And the forecast for tomorrow, snow beginning to develop first, probably over the Susitna Valley. This upper level low coming south and southwestward. Actually, a circulation will set up near Minchumina tomorrow afternoon aloft, and that's going to enhance this low center right over, just about right over Anchorage. The position of this low by some of the models. Other models have it a little shifted to the west or east. But this trough will continue to produce some light snow chances for Yakutat, a little more likely for Cordova and into Prince William Sound area. And it looks like by tomorrow afternoon, snow should be going in the Anchorage area. Probably not Kenai, though, but definitely up into the Susitna Valley. Looks pretty snowy for at least a period of some widespread, persistent light snow. But the southeast coast here, just look for an increase in the clouds. Port Alexander up to Sitka, and inland a little bit, otherwise much lighter winds and staying fair and dry down to the south. Out to the west, finally have this frontal system spreading some moisture and an increase in the winds here over the Aleutians later tomorrow afternoon. Winds staying light here. Really no change back to the west. Still some occasional light snow or flurries for the Pribilofs. That Arctic boundary hung up right in that area over the Bering Sea with, again, pretty chilly temperatures here. Struggling to rise above zero there over the west central interior where the clouds and flurries are in, but it'll be sunny out along the west coast. And the outlook for Wednesday, still periods of snow, again starting tomorrow afternoon across south central Alaska, gradually building southward. And as this front swings out, you may see some snow chances or light snow or flurries develop in and around the Kodiak Island area. That'll extend and actually be a little heavier up along the North Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound. So it looks like a pretty good snow coming in for the south central mountain areas, and then that'll extend right up into the Tanana Valley. This southeast wind flow kind of shutting it off there along the eastern Alaska Range into the 40-mile country. Really going to be hit and miss, but the areas just to the west should see some pretty good snow. And then the cold air coming out into the Bering Sea, picking up snow showers, so kind of a cloudy, snow showery condition there for the Pribilof Islands. Periods of snow along this Arctic boundary, which drops to just north of the Aleutians during the day on Wednesday. And it looks like this trough and the moisture associated with it will remain just to the west of the Panhandle. So high pressure holding up here, so mostly clear skies over the eastern areas, and then more of a threat of some clouds with much lighter winds right along the coastline. Temperatures today were in the 20s to mid 30s down there across the southeast coast. These all 4 o'clock readings, 30 degrees in Juneau, and again 26 at Skagway with gusty winds of 30 miles an hour, 34 over Cordova and Whittier at 33, 38 in Homer, 33 there in Anchorage, and 28 up at Talkeetna. Chillier 14 degrees with some clouds around there in Gulkana, and up to 22 in Fairbanks, one of the warmer locations in that area, otherwise teens, and then dropping down to 9 at Fort Yukon. Anaktuvuk, gusty winds, some snow going on, north winds up to about, or northeasterlies, kicking up to about 25 to 30 miles an hour, 8 below zero there at 4 o'clock, and farther below zero with the colder air spreading into the Arctic coast there, minus 12 at Barrow, minus 14 down at Point Lay, or actually that was Cape Lisburne, minus 5 over at Kaktovik with some light snow there. Minus 9 at Tin City with those gusty north winds. Gamble pushed up to 1 above this afternoon, otherwise single numbers all through this area, right down to the even the Yukon Delta coast, and back into the 20s though. McGrath 23, same thing at Bethel, and out to the southwest, St. Paul had 31, so 33 out there at Shimia, but into the 40s here over the central Aleutians. Same thing for Dutch Harbor, 43 at Cold Bay, and cooling trend continues here over Bristol Bay, but a lot of sunshine this afternoon with King Salmon pushing up to 36. And for the lows tonight, again, well below zero up over the north and northwest part of the state with a 0-degree isotherm dropping all the way down to near Bethel, and then back to the northeast, and then hugging the Alaska Range with, except the higher elevations of the Copper River Basin dropping below zero. Otherwise, teens and 20s here over south central Alaska, Kodiak down to 31, and pretty chilly, single numbers and teens to mid-20s there for the southeast coast. Looking at the highs tomorrow, staying below zero up here over the northern areas. Single numbers and teens to the south to lower and possibly mid-30s here over the south central Alaska areas down to Kodiak. Lower 30s to upper 30s there as you get out to the Alaska Peninsula. Macoriac, high forecast 11 degrees, 27 for St. Paul, otherwise near 40 or 35 to 40 for the Aleutians. Flying weather, look for some IFR to be on the increase starting tonight with the Marsville VFR, and then pretty good chance of seeing some IFR from eastern Prince William Sound, even Valdez and Cordova into the Yakutat area, with Marsville conditions developing all the way down the coastline there. Staying VFR Kodiak and up the southwest coast to Nunivak Island. In fact, much of the Bristol Bay area and eastern and northern Bering Sea will be VFR, and then some areas of IFR out here over the Aleutians, and also Marsville VFR with some possible areas of IFR up over the North Slope and Arctic coast. And for Anaktuvuk, VFR tomorrow looks good. Adigan starting out IFR, gradually improving to Marsville VFR. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR to start with, and then watch for the marginal conditions to develop. First at Merrifield in the late afternoon, possibly down to Lake Clark by this time tomorrow. And for rainy, marginal VFR throughout the day, and then windy, VFR becoming marginal. Isabel, same forecast, VFR becoming marginal, but I think Mentasta will stay far enough east to stay in the drier air, so VFR for that pass. And for Tanita, look for a downward trend starting out VFR and could end up IFR during the mid and late afternoon hours. Portage, same trend downward, VFR becoming marginal, and for Chilkoot and White, those two passes staying VFR. Freezing levels, only the surface to look at here, except out toward the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians. You can see the whole thing's been receding southward over the weekend and into tomorrow, actually still up to 2,000 feet in the early part of the day tomorrow, but then that too will gradually shift southward by tomorrow afternoon, especially tomorrow night with the surface line there right behind it. And for icing threats, again, southwest flow aloft, moisture coming up, threat of some rime icing here in the shaded areas of, that's where the greatest threat is. Also here down over the North Gulf Coast, Copper River Basin area. And again, this will begin to expand southward into northern Cook Inlet during the afternoon hours. Icing free along the southeast coast and also out here over the Bering Sea, maybe some hit and miss stuff out over the Aleutians. Upper level wind flow chart shows a huge area of high pressure over the Russian Far East, and that allows this upper low to drop to about this position again in Renchumina tomorrow afternoon. Southwest flow, good for snow developing over southern Alaska, and the 3,000-foot winds, those northeasterlies continue to howl there across the northwest coast, 40 to 45 knots all the way down to St. Lawrence Island. Lighter winds down into the Bering Sea. Light variable winds here over the eastern Gulf Coast and Panhandle, up to 20 knots there with this low at this level at 9,000 feet. Then 3,000-foot winds. We have a trough axis right through here, so light variable winds along that. Light southerlies on the east side of it, northeast 20 to 35 knots back to the west. And pretty light winds now over the southeast coast, and the Aleutians looking a little brisk there over the central areas. And for turbulence, look for moderate chop up over the northwest areas of St. Lawrence Island as well as the central Aleutians. Otherwise, pretty light turbulence expected over the eastern and southern interior. And after hangar flying, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mary O'Connor, and I'm filling in for Harry Keeling. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Directors of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, and I'm also the Aviation Safety Program Manager with the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health here in Anchorage. This evening, we are honored to have Giselle Moeller. She is the Executive Director for Regions and Center Operations with the Federal Aviation Administration. Giselle is an aircraft owner and a pilot, and she's been working on the Next Generation Air Transportation System, or NextGen. On our last show, we talked a little bit about NextGen modernization and how it will benefit Alaskans when we travel outside the state. One study that was done in Alaska in the early 2000s estimated that 44% of preventable navigation and controlled flight into terrain accidents were prevented due to the capstone equipment. Capstone was the precursor of ADS-B, so this is very promising for accident prevention here in Alaska. Giselle, can you tell us what kind of features in NextGen will help VFR pilots in Alaska?
Oh, sure. I'll get into ADS-B in just 1 minute because I want to talk about how I saw ADS-B in a wonderful flight that I had yesterday into the rural areas of Alaska. But a couple modernization programs that are not part of NextGen but critical for the VFR pilots, and one is the cameras. The cameras that are out there with our weather sensors just provide so much information that pilots can make smart decisions about whether to fly or not. That go, no-go decision is just a real solid choice when you can look at the weather cameras and determine whether or not to fly. Another one is electronic flight bags. Gosh, we're all getting really tired of carrying a ton of charts with us, not knowing exactly, you know, how many we have to have or where we're going to land, and especially in the lower 48, if we're going from state to state, and there are so many airports, we're carrying a lot of charts. But now you can have the electronic flight bag, your iPad can contain your charts, and that's all part of the modernization program. But let's talk about ADS-B and just how critical that is. That is one of the infrastructure programs of NextGen. It had its roots in Alaska in the Capstone program. And it just provides so much additional information which allows pilots to fly very safely. So yesterday, my wonderful flight into the rural areas of Alaska were just fantastic because we also had a fairly clear day. And that fairly clear day let me see Mount McKinley. Since it's my first time in Alaska, I was thrilled to see Mount McKinley and the other volcanoes. But our flight was to a number of different local communities. And going to those communities, we didn't see a whole lot of traffic at first. We went to Kiliganot, Dillingham. Now, some of these names are new to me, so please, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing them. So one is, I'm just going to use what everyone calls, and that's New Stew. But there I didn't see too many other traffic or other aircraft on the ADS-B display. But then we went to the Bethel area, and that's a very hot spot for I guess accidents, really, come right down to it. And so there I saw a lot of traffic, and with the ADS-B display, I could see where the other planes were, and not only where they were, but which direction they were flying, how fast they were flying, whether they were climbing or descending. And to have all that information around the aircraft that you're in just promotes so much safety. And even though we have this mandate by 2020 to equip, the sooner everyone gets that equipment, the safer all the travel will be in Alaska. So I just really highly promote that, there are benefits to this next-gen technology that you can take advantage now.
So as you mentioned, there's a mandate for pilots flying in controlled airspace to equip with ADS-B equipment by 2020. Since you're an aircraft owner, I have to ask, is your aircraft equipped with this new avionics?
I am equipped with some of the avionics. I'm not equipped with a WAAS LPV, and I can't wait to equip, but I need to have the destination that I most often fly to have the LPV approaches. Right now a survey is taking place that will allow a WAAS LPV approach to be implemented there, and once it is, I'll be first in line for the WAAS equipage. And I think that holds true for everyone. You have to see value in spending the money to equip your aircraft. With ADS-B, it's a safety factor. So when you don't have radar, then I think the ADS-B just provides an incredible safety factor that everyone can take advantage of in Alaska.
That's a great idea, and we do have some areas, as you saw yesterday, that are very busy with a lot of traffic. So everybody using the same technology will make it safer for everyone. Giselle, it's been an honor and a pleasure having you on the program. We thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, fly safely.
Welcome back. Well, less wind here over the northern inside waters, even the central areas. Whether I have that direction correct or not remains to be seen, but the speed should be definitely a lot less, maybe even down to 15 knots. Staying light down here over the southern areas. Southeasterlies 15 to 20 knots for a change there along the coastline. And then for Wednesday, light variable winds up in the northern areas, and then northeasterlies predominate here and pick up to about 20 knots down on the south coast. And then back to north or north-northeast up to 20 knots again there for Lynn Canal Glacier Bay, otherwise northeasterlies at about 15. And again, some higher gusts coming out of the channeled bays. For the south central Alaska area, tomorrow Kodiak Island all the way up to the coast, southwesterlies, a little more southerly here on the central coast. Light southeasterlies for Prince William Sound and pretty light southerly winds here for Cook Inlet, kind of the pattern we saw today. And that's actually going to become really light and variable or just dead calm here all across the inlet, right down into Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands. South 10 to 15 for the marine areas of Kodiak Island. Southerlies 15 to 20 knots maybe here for the central coast, and 15, possibly 20 knots at times there for Prince William Sound. For the Bristol Bay zone, northeast 10, light winds here for the Alaska Peninsula. Light variable conditions tomorrow for the water southwest of Kodiak Island. And then 15 knots on the Pacific side of the peninsula for Wednesday, and then 20 knot winds now as that colder air pushes southward and you get in a little more gradient there, picking the winds up. But at this point, I think they'll stay under small craft advisory levels. And 15 to 20 knot winds for the Fox Islands out of the east tomorrow. Small craft advisories, though, for, say, roughly Atka all the way out to Shimia, where they turn a little more northeast. And then for Wednesday, small craft advisories, 25 to 30 knots all through this area, becoming more easterly towards Shimia, and northeast 20 to 25 knots there for the Fox Islands. And taking a look at the southwest coast, 15-knot winds through this stretch, and from about Nunivak Island northward picking up, and small craft or brisk wind advisories there with the ice around the area for St. Lawrence Island. Small craft advisories for the northern Bering Sea, northeast 20 for the Pribilofs. Those will pick up a little bit, 25 knots, much colder temperatures, so look for freezing spray to heavy freezing spray here over the Bering Sea, even down to the southeast part, and then about the same on the winds though. For the Arctic coast, east or westerlies on the east side, 10 to maybe 20 knots here over on, and that'd be about the highest it would get. Otherwise, light northerlies on the central coast, gradually picking up 25 to 30 knots there for Cape Lisburne, Point Hope. Call it about north 20 to 25. And actually not going to be much change into Wednesday. Those pretty brisk winds for brisk wind advisories here for these areas, more northerly there for the Chukchi Sea and Kotzebue Sound. And north 10 staying light, really not much change at all over the next couple of days for the central and eastern stretch of the coastlines. For tonight, again, watching this low develop here and the moisture gradually increasing, not so much tonight. In this area, pretty persistent up here in the north with staying fair with some variable clouds continuing to clip the southeast coast. Then look for the snow to develop tomorrow afternoon, first starting in the Susitna Valley, and in this area kind of enhancing up into the central interior. And snow tomorrow night, snow Wednesday night in those shaded areas. Have a great evening.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.
If you are interested in serving on your local Federal Subsistence Regional Advisory Council, the deadline to apply is Friday, March 21st. The councils provide information and recommendations to the Federal Subsistence Board on subsistence hunting, trapping, and fishing. For more information on the advisory councils and how to apply, call 1-800-478-1456 or email subsistence@fws.gov. This message sponsored by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.